Hello, everyone, and welcome to our today's session. We are so excited to see you here today with us. Thank you for writing in the chat that we have here and for saying hi. We would really appreciate to know from where you are. That gives us a better understanding what are the regions that we are covering and from where you are watching us. My name is Alina. I'm an Education USA advisor, and as you know, Education USA Regional is coming here with monthly webinars. For this month, we have 2 more webinars, and this one is dedicated specifically to CVs and letters of recommendations. So as you can see, as you might know, if you follow us for a long time, this month is dedicated to graduate students. So the graduate students that we have also in a regional cohort, I hope they are also watching us today. But also for those who are in the preparation process for their postgraduate degree, you should know that you can follow us for more webinars that we already held this month, and 2 of them are going to be at the end of October. So I have my colleague from Kazakhstan that is going to moderate our today's session, and you know already that we have our regional advisors that are conducting these sessions. So I'm happy to present you Aray from Kazakhstan. Aray, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for preparing the presentation you have prepared. So I'm just gonna give you the floor so you can introduce yourself, and then we can just proceed with the presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alina. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining and dedicating your time here with us. My name is Aray. So I am an advisor, EducationUSA advisor based in Kazakhstan, Almaty. So if you are from Kazakhstan, Almaty, there is a chance to meet in person, and I'm glad to meet all other advisees from the countries that are joining today, joining this session today.
Awesome. So we can start with the presentation, then we'll put it on the screen for you.
Yeah, so today's presentation will be full of useful information, hopefully, and feel free to take a screenshot or picture of some slides because they will be having some examples or questions. And later on, we will move to the questions that you left while you registered for this session. And if you have some other questions along the way, I will be happy to answer to them as well. So we can move to the next slide. So first, moving straight on to the difference between the CV and resume, which was also one of your questions, is that CV and resume, as you can see here, have some similarities, but at the same time may have different purposes. So while CV is usually sent for academic programs and serves for academic positions, graduate studies, a resume is usually a document that is sent to job positions, and it can also be sent to some professional degree programs such as MBA. And here on this slide, you can see typical sections that are included into each of these documents. And also, you can see that usually a resume, it consists of 1 page where you add your key information, name and contact information, education, and work experience. While in the CV, here you can see that it contains much more sections. So you can consider CV as your life document that contains everything, and it can be from 1 to 2 or 4 pages for younger professionals and more for those who have more extensive experience. And later in the presentation, I will be covering on tailoring it to specific positions. So here you have the basic sections, and they can further be adapted to the specific positions or programs that you will be applying to. So in the next slide, so here you can see that grad school CVs, which today we're focusing on, so mostly graduate programs will ask for CV rather than resume. And as I mentioned before, some professional degree programs may request resume, and they will indicate specific lengths, which can be 1 to 2 pages. And in terms of CV, usually the length is not limited and it depends more on you. But at the same time, regardless of the document that you are asked for, these documents have the same style, which is very minimalistic. So no bright colors, photographs, or emojis, and it includes the experiences which will add to your uh, profile and will help you to stand out among other applicants. So moving on to the next slide. Um, One of the questions that you should be thinking about is why should the admissions select you? And here you should be aware that um, there is, mm, while we have templates and examples, guidelines to create a CV and resume, you should be using also your common sense to understand whether a certain experience or results of your work will be helpful in assessing your candidacy. Um, and you will be placing those that are most important, most impactful for you at the beginning of your CV or resume, and those that are less important or less relevant can be placed in the second or third and other pages of your document. So one of the questions that or the registrants had is about the length. So as I mentioned before, with CV, the length can be 2 to 3 pages for most applicants, and resume will be 1 page. So here, regardless of the page number, you will be placing the experiences firstly in reverse chronological order, and then also depending on their relevance and importance within your application. And next. So here are the tips to keep in mind. So before you start, you could think of 3 to 4 most notable skills that you have to understand like which experiences you will be placing first, and also understand who will be reading your CV and whether it will be more academic or professional depending on the type of program you are applying, and thinking of those who will be exactly reading it. So if it's given that admissions committee may know less about your specific experiences in a certain field, you should be aware also about the language that you use so that it's specific enough, at the same time understandable for different audiences. Um, and also some of the experiences that you want to list, but at the same time you want to keep it concise. Here in the last bullet point, you can see that some of the experiences may not require the detailed description. So the most important ones may contain bullet points, which we'll be talking about later, and those that are less important can be just shortly mentioned if you want them to be in your document. Next. So the general rules is that if you work at a place that is not readily recognizable, you should be first mentioning the full name, and also give a short description on what kind of organization it is. It's not the full sentence, it can be just a short phrase that will clarify the type of organization. Also, the second point, which is one of the most important, that you should be quantifying your experiences where possible, and later I will be showing some examples on that. I provide enough context so that the reader understands the scale of your work and the area in which you were working, what kind of tools you used, also what kind of results you achieved by making comparisons of before and after, and also describing the outcome of your work. So if you had some key results, it would be good to add them and to show specifically what was achieved. And if you add numbers or some other quantifiable results, it would be even better. Next. And here you can see the formula to write a higher quality bullet point. So you start with an action verb, and if you write the list of action verbs to any search engine, you will be finding a list which can help you to brainstorm. But the main thing is that the first, thinking about your experience, the first verb that comes to your mind, which immediately helps others to visualize what you've done, would be your strong action verb. And then you can add one kind of noun that will help to make this verb a bit more understandable. If you worked on something, then the what part would be helpful in terms of understanding what kind of project it was, or what kind of audience for whom it was. And then you can add how or this would be your tools which you used to achieve that, or why, for what you did that, and also impact, which could be a quantifiable result of your work, such as here you can see in the third example that the impact could include a number of people you attracted to your project, or number of attendees, participants, in terms of this example. So in terms of why, here you can see that you show your purpose, which at the same time can show the values that you had. And it's a good thing to add when there are no quantifiable results, but the experience itself is important and shows the match between values of you and the academic program you are applying to. And the first example that you see here is about how. So you show more details in terms of how you did something, and it may include different tools that you used. It can be technical tools, or some kind of approaches. If you are a teacher, you may add different methods that you were using to achieve the results with your students. In the next slide, you can see the difference between these lines where strong action verbs are used. So one of the common mistakes that are made by students is that they use very generic verbs that don't help the reader to understand what you did. So in the first one, you can see that helped with book research is not specific enough, but unfortunately, it's the very common mistake. So instead of writing helped, choose a more specific verb, because you can help in a variety of ways, and you can divide this word help into different subverbs and choose the one that would help to make a picture of what you've done more clearly. So here you can see that it's quantified, and also the length shown to highlight that it was done in a very quick amount of time. Also here, the why part shows which exactly what kind of review was exactly done. And the result was that it was communicated to the summary of findings. So here you can see that previous formula was fully implemented in this example. And in the rest of examples, you can also see that assisted is another synonym to helped, which is also not a verb that you should be using. So instead, you should use verbs that such as planned and implemented in case of this. So you can ask yourself, how exactly did I assist? What exactly did I do? And then write down all of the verbs that you like incorporating when you write the word assisted, and then choose the ones that will be the most representative of this experience. And if there are several verbs and you don't want to like lose any of them, you can write several bullet points, or you if you have any kind of limits, because some programs, they may ask you to keep some kind of length. So before tailoring your CV to the specific position, you can write your full CV, which will include everything that you've done starting from your undergrad degree. And then when you will be tailoring it, you can think of that one experience will show you from one part, and another experience will show you from other qualities that you have. So in this case, you will be concise, but at the same time, you will be able to show all the skills that you have without being repetitive. So moving on to the next slide. I mentioned that it is important to quantify your experiences. So here you can see examples of how you can do that, because often we may not fully understand that, yes, we should add some kind of numbers, but how to do that. So here you can take a picture of this slide, and then think of how you can do it in your own way. And also here, I want to add that you shouldn't be intimidated by the examples and thinking of you don't have some kind of impactful results, or maybe impressive ones. So it's better to add the numbers as they are that you have, rather than not writing them at all. And also, one thing that is good is that you can summarize your experiences. So you cannot write like too many bullet points under one experience. So instead of that, you can summarize some key points. So if you organize, for example, several events within one project, you could summarize that and add all of the number of attendees from all the events that you had. so that the number itself would be more easy to memorize for the reader, and also for you to deliver it and to make it more impactful in your case. Next slide. So here are the questions that you can ask yourself before starting. CV or resume is the document that is sometimes can be hard to write because we may forget about some things. And starting from today, you can document everything that you do. You can have a table or Word document depending on how it's convenient to you, and write everything that you achieve regularly. It can be on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, or on a monthly, depending on how it's comfortable to you. But for the experiences that you had before, you can use these questions to recall everything that you've done, and keep track of it in your, like, it's called monster CV, or it can be called archive CV. So your CV, extensive CV that has everything, you can add all the results that you're having there, so that whenever you see some kind of opportunities appearing, or you see that the deadline is approaching, of some program that you haven't seen before, so you have your CV immediately ready, and you can send it to your recommender, and to the program itself. So it would help you to have this kind of brainstorming sheet with you. And now when you are compiling your updated CV, these questions can help you to start the process. Next slide. And the common mistakes that I've seen while working on helping students and giving feedback to their CVs is that one of the most common mistakes is inconsistency in formatting. So it can be different fonts using different headings, different sizes of, like, one section could have one kind of size, and another one have a different one. So be consistent. You can download templates on writing centers of different US universities and use them, because they are quite consistent, and it will help you to, instead of making your own template, you can start from the ready one, and it will help you to avoid this kind of inconsistency just in formatting, because it shows you that you are attentive to detail, that you are a responsible person. Also, be aware of the spacing. So, for example, sometimes the lines that are used to separate different sections, or the space itself, can be have like different sizes in applicants' CVs. So be aware about, like, if you started one point in a one way, then you should be continuing doing other things in the same way. Which is related to the position of dates and the location of the experience, name of the organization. If you use like the one type of font for the name of the organization, and another one for the description of position to highlight them, then it should be appearing in a similar style like throughout all of your CV. Also, being non-specific about your experience. So previously you saw that it can be unspecific verbs that don't help to understand what kind of skills you have. Also, no metrics, no outcomes. Using unclear or unexplained abbreviations that can be clear to people in your field, but there may be some other readers who are reading your CV, so it's better to, at least for the first time, to spell out it fully. Also, using generic verbs, as I mentioned before, and listing every responsibility instead of key results and impact. So it's better to think of, like, you can write everything fully, and then think of how you could summarize this information so that it looks clear and concise, without listing some kind of basic responsibilities that are immediately understandable that you are having them. So CV or resume is not to show everything that you've done throughout your experience, but to show key highlights, key results, changes that you achieved, to show you as a proactive person, as the one who leads change and helps others in the team, for example. So you don't need to list like everything, but you should be strategic about the verbs that you choose, so that they show exactly what kind of qualities you have, and also be the, like, impact driven and result oriented, including irrelevant experience. So here you should be thinking about, like, whether this experience helps to add something from my side. Like, if I will be part of the certain program, master's program or PhD program, would I be able to implement this experience in a certain way? And if yes, you can have it on your CV. If it's completely irrelevant, then you can remove it. Also, adding the experience from your school experience is no longer relevant when you're applying for graduate studies. So you don't need to add your high school information or achievements that were before undergraduate degree. Also, you should avoid using descriptive words, for example, successfully implemented or effectively achieved. Uh, yeah, uh, thank you. And so, instead of these filler words, use strategic verbs that will be showing the impact that you've done without any kind of fillers. So, next slide. Here, I want to say that writing centers, career centers, and also examples of professors and professional in your field would be an excellent resource for you to understand. So, while you're editing your CV, you can use the online resources that are available for free. So, you can seek people that you like. It can be faculty in the same university you're applying to. Usually their CVs are published there, and also writing career centers of the universities also you are considering. And it can be also many other universities as well. They have guidelines, examples, templates, and also it can be divided into specific majors. So that's why we strongly suggest to use these resources as well. Next slide. Moving on to the letters of recommendation. So, a letter of recommendation describes how the recommender knows you and your work, outlines, shows how you will be a successful candidate for this program, and provides specific examples to illustrate your skills. So, here you can see the quote that it's not just necessary to restate some your achievements that are written in your CV, but provide specific examples witnessed by the recommender that would help them to understand what kind of person you are and what kind of professional and future scholar or researcher you are. Next slide. So here are the common questions that are addressed by the recommender. I wouldn't be reading all of them, but rather you can take a picture and also discuss it with your recommender. So there was one question from the registrants that if the recommender does not speak English, what to do? You can translate these questions and discuss them with the recommender so that they would understand how to what to write if they haven't encountered this kind of request before, and write it in the language that they know, and then it can be translated also without your participation. Next slide. So what you should be providing your recommender with, I also suggest to take a picture of this slide. So the main thing to remember is that you should be providing all the details that you can, everything starting from dates to your experience, your CV, essays, any kind of work. And also you can write like a short paper on key points of interaction with that recommender to help them to recall all of interactions that you had with them, especially the most meaningful ones, so that they can easily understand what they can write about, what kind of courses they had with you, or if you were their assistant, what kind of results you achieved while working with them. So these kind of things. Next slide. It's important for the recommender to be also specific. So in case the CV, you will be the one who is specific, and in case of recommendation letter, also the recommender should introduce themselves and show their capacity or why they are in a credible position to recommend you. So the number of years they've evaluated people in your peer group, and also whom they are working, their position. So these kind of things should be also added in the introduction of the recommendation letter, and then they will be providing specific evaluation for you in terms of your academic performance and how you stand out in the comparison with your group. Next slide. And tips for choosing the right people. Usually it's suggested to choose professors and professional references. So if you are fresh graduate, then usually the number of recommendation letters is 2 to 3, and it depends on the program. So while you're reading the requirements, be careful with the number of recommenders. So usually it's from 2 to 3, but it can be more depending on the program, or it can be less. So if it's like 3 recommenders, then 2 of them will be professional academic recommenders if you are a fresh graduate, and vice versa if you graduated a long time ago. So if you graduated more than 5 years ago or more than 10 years ago, usually admissions committee realize that you may lose some contacts with the professors, or they themselves may be changing the positions and places they're working at. So that's why you can choose those recommenders with whom you worked more recently. It can be professional references. So usually universities and admissions, they explain it on their program site that if you graduated a long time ago, several years ago, it's fine for you to use only professional references. But it's while you have a chance, for those who are still studying, you should be in a close contact with those who can be your potential recommenders in the future. Next slide. So here are the examples. I will not be fully reading them. Here again, I suggest you to take a picture. So here, the main point is that is about the specificity. So instead of restating something from the CV, the person should be writing it from his or her own perspective and add the context that would be able to be written only by them, not by other people. So some things that are witnessed only by these recommenders would add the depth and specificity and authenticity to your essay, which is to the recommendation letter. So these kind of things, you can also show these examples if to your recommenders, so that if they haven't written recommendation letters before, they could understand how these kind of statements are made. Next slide. Here is the example on assessing the students' qualities and ranking them among others. It's not something that should be done necessarily, but is usually recommendation letters are expected to provide the context within which the student is ranked or assessed, like your qualities, and also especially academic ones. In case the recommendation is provided by professional recommenders, then they would be able to assess you in terms of the delivery of the tasks that you have. So this kind of specific numbers would also help to make the recommendation letter more specific. Moving to the next slide. Here you can see the quote. So one thing that I want to add is that while the recommendation letter firstly assesses your academic skills, your ability to the outlook on how you will be studying on the graduate program, whether you will be able to do that. Also, it's a place where your other parts of your like personality could be shown, that will be also adding to the whole holistic approach. And the last slide is the thank you for you to staying here listening to this presentation, and we'll be happy to address any other questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aray. It's much appreciated. Thank you for the presentation. I hope that those who will connect a bit later, they will have the opportunity to rewatch that recording and take one of the most important tips. But I'm more than sure that everything is important in this presentation, so you should consider everything. It's very hard, specifically for graduate students, to consider all that, because for them it's more struggling, especially if they would take some gap year, or they would have to consider the fact that their recommenders are not working anymore at the institution that they have been studying at. So we are encouraging you to refer also to your EducationUSA advisor, because here is also an individual approach and all the cases are different. So just for you to know, on our website, you can see what is the nearest EducationUSA center in your region and what's the name of your advisor, so you can relate to them if you need more help. Okay, so as you might know, guys, we have the opportunity to answer your questions, and many of you have addressed them in advance. So we will start answering them with Arai. So, one of the first questions that we've got in advance was how to approach non English speaking recommenders if, for example, they have problem navigating the website and ask me to upload the letter instead. I know you have answered that, but maybe we can just give a short explanation.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think I might add a short answer, and that I will be also interested in your opinion, Elena. So, one thing would be um, if the recommender is a non-English speaking one, then first, if you have a chance, you can meet them in person and explain all the processes in Kazakh or Russian or any other language that you speak. So, uh, in general, approaching the recommender in person is a good way for them to once again to have a this close communication with you, and also to discuss all of these questions, instructions. You can also translate them and present it as a file. You can even make an instruction with screenshots, with arrows showing everything, how it works. So this can be one way. And also, while the making the submission, you can also do it together. It can be in person or online. So this part may not require you to see the letter itself, but in case of these kind of issues appear and they themselves would want to you to have a look at the recommendation letter as well, then I think it's more of an individual approach here. So um, of course, it's suggested to for the advisee not to have a look at the recommendation letter, but if the situation necessarily requires you to assist your recommender, then the assisting the recommender would be if it's a necessary step, then you should do it.
Yes, I totally agree. And we have a lot of cases when the professor wouldn't even know English, and he would have to translate the letter of recommendation for himself or herself. Don't be scary. I mean, that happens. And yes, even though you will know the content of the recommendation letter, I'm more than sure that you're conscious why you chose this recommender. So I wouldn't consider that a big problem. But yes, if that's someone that is crucial, if that is a professor that it has a direct relation to your program, then for sure, yes, assist him in this case, because you don't really have another option. Okay, another question here, which actually we have mentioned about. Wouldn't that be violation, since as an applicant I'm not supposed to see my recommendation letter?
Um, I can add here that even in any case, the recommendation letter should be submitted from the email, from the corporate professional email of the recommender. So if they usually if the recommender works somewhere, they should be having a corporate email and they should be using it. If it's someone who is no longer working there, then it's acceptable to use the personal email. But in any case, it is the email that is not yours but the recommenders. So even if you help them in sending this recommendation letter, it wouldn't be a violation if they personally ask you to help. And also, since it is sent from their computer, from their device, and from their account, then no violations will happen in this process.
And it's also signed by them. You would submit that in PDF, and that would we're in Adobe Acrobat, and that would be signed. And I mean, anyway, it gives the admission committee the understanding that it has been sent by your professor. So yeah, don't worry about that. The next question: is it necessary to address the recommendation letter to the faculty who mentor the PhD programs at the universities?
Mhm. That's a good question. So usually the admissions committee for PhD applications, they may consist of different members who are also admissions officers, and also the members of the faculty, and specifically your future potential supervisors. But since it can be reviewed by several members, I would advise to write the admissions committee or something like that to avoid any kind of misunderstandings. And also, you couldn't be fully sure if it will be him or her specifically reading your recommendation letter. Maybe they will be reading it in the next round of applications. So first it could be read by others, then by the supervisors. So that's why it's better um, to write, like, to address it to the admissions committee.
I totally agree. Okay, the next one. What are the essential points to include in a CV to make it impressive, such as GPA, volunteering activities, excluding software skills?
Mhm. So in the beginning of this presentation, you saw some key sections that should be included into CV and the resume as well. So you could also, after this webinar is published on the YouTube channels, you could watch it there and then return to that slide again. Yes, adding your GPA if it's high and impressive would be good, especially for academic programs. Or positions that require including showing GPA, because in some cases it can be also specifically mentioned. In terms of volunteering activities, it depends on your profile. So if you are a fresh graduate or a fourth year student who didn't have a chance to gain professional experience or other some kind of things, volunteering activities can help to show your commitment to the field you're applying to, and also your skills that you need while being there, and also for the professional field that you are aspiring to be part of. So in this case, volunteering activities would help. But in case of being working professional like for several years, or applying for a heavily research oriented program, in this case volunteering activities would be less important, so they would be placed to the lower part of your CV. And the part with excluding software skills, I didn't fully understand, but if it's soft skills, then usually soft skills and also hard skills, they can be shown throughout your experience. So during the slide with making strong bullet points, I was mentioning that you show your skills through the action verbs, and you show your values in terms of showing why you were doing it. So these parts already show the skills that you have, but you can also have a section on skills where you can show your language skills, also technical skills that are relevant to your program, research skills. So usually soft skills are not listed separately, but in some case it can be a case. So it's more, I think, individual, but usually this kind of skills question section involves more technical research and language skills.
I agree. Thank you. The next one, I'm having a challenge finding certain PhD programs. Any advice on that, and also how to email professors?
So PhD programs usually it I'm not sure about what kind of challenge you're having, but if you list like the name of your of the field that you're interested in, and also add PhD, and while using the regular search engine, different programs will appear. And one thing is that you will um, encounter is that even though there are databases that can list different PhD programs, they are not comprehensive, so they may not have all the PhD programs in your field. This is one thing. Also, you can do it by like a reverse approach. So if you read articles in your field on a regular basis and know some kind of researchers that are in your field, you can have a look at their profiles, and also have a look at the other faculty members they are working with in the institution where they are located. So and then you can have a look at whether they lead some kind of PhD projects. You can write them cold emails. So here, moving on to the second part of this question. So when you email professors, it's also important to be specific. So you shortly introduce yourself. You show the relevance between your experience and research interests and their research interests and what they have done. You can touch on specific points that you are interested in within their experience, showing that you are interested in researching the same area, for example, and then smoothly move to the action part, calling them to have maybe a short call where you could further discuss the things, or asking your specific questions on whether they accept PhD applicants this year. So different writing centers as well, they have examples on how to write cold emails, and you can also have a look at them to understand what kind of things you can write. And also you can approach Education USA advisor in your city or country, and ask guidance in your specific case.
Thank you. Okay. Another question. I graduated more than 20 years ago. What kind of recommendation to have to get full funding for PhD studies in economics?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, so this question is a bit challenging. So if you graduated over 20 years ago, of course, many things have changed, and you may be having difficulty with connecting to your previous supervisors, and also like lots of things changed in your own professional qualification in these 20 years. So in this case, you could choose to cooperate with professional referees, so ask your supervisors in current and also other job experiences that you had, that will be able to mention your uh, qualifications, professional qualifications, but as well as some transferable skills if you had like only applied experience, to derive some points from this experience that would be relevant to the PhD position, and would help to add on the elaborate on perspectives that you gained during these 20 years that would help to be a contributive student during PhD studies. But at the same time, since if you like all of this period you were a professional working in the applied field, then it can be challenging to apply for PhD straight away. So here also you could write cold emails to potential supervisors, discuss it with them as well, to connect with a specific supervisor with whom your experience could be the thing that they are also looking for, like the professional outlook on certain topics in economics, maybe, or areas, countries. So yes, and also I would suggest to acquire research skills in case they may, if you have some missing points in your like research skills, then it would be good to acquire them through online resources, so that you will be able um, to address these things, and to help them to be sure that you will be able to study on a PhD level and conduct research.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Is there any particular CV for academic programs and a different one for professional programs?
Mhm. So for academic programs, the CV, as was also mentioned in the presentation, it would contain more sections to help the mm, admissions committee to understand you from the academic and research perspective. So you, for the academic programs, you would focus more on research skills that you have. It could be also publications, presentations, teaching and mentoring experience, because you will be working with peer students within your research project or lab. So for professional programs, it would be more important to show your specific and certain skills that will be helpful in doing the tasks that are listed in their job description, or like uh, in the future, maybe job description that you will be having after the professional program, if it's the professional master's program, for example. So you will be aiming more to show your professional skills. But if in this question the word program means only graduate programs, but just academic and professional ones, it wouldn't be like for professional programs you are still able to submit a CV, not resume, if they particularly, in case they particularly listed that they want a resume, then in this case it would be a standard resume format. But if they mentioned CV or resume, or decide, like left this to decide on your own, in this case, the section that you had for academic CV could be also listed for the professional program. It's just the order can be changed, and also the action verbs can also be changed depending on which skills would be more relevant to the program you're applying for.
Thank you. And the last one for the ones that we had in advance, what are the most common mistakes you see in graduate school CVs? And I think you already answered that. If I don't have much research experience, what can I highlight to strengthen my CV? How far back should I go in listing experiences?
Mhm. Yeah, so regarding the mistakes, I think I wouldn't repeat myself. So, yeah, and moving on to the second question. So, if you don't have much research experience, then it would be good to compensate it through maybe professional experience in your field if it's easier to accomplish, like in your current situation. And also, you could mention relevant coursework that helped you to gain necessary academic qualifications, understanding that would help in future maybe research initiatives as well. And you could also it wouldn't be a make or break thing, I would say, but you could also take academic short term courses like online to gain research skills on specific research skills that will be needed for you during your graduate studies. Maybe it's statistical tools or programming tools, depending on your field. If you are applying for STEM research, then you could show, if it's not something if it's not a hands-on experience, then you could show your commitment and interest in terms of something that you can do also on an online basis, or maybe it could be review articles that you can write um, within the amount of time that you have. Yeah, and also if you don't have resources to conduct research at your university, this also is taking into consideration. So there may be some universities who don't have necessary facilities. In this case, if you don't have time and you are graduating, you could also add it to the additional information section in while you're applying. So usually some programs, they may have additional section while you're applying where you could mention additional things. It can be an additional essay or some kind of thing like that. But now what you can do is to just do as much as you can to show your commitment and to think of what kind of transferable skills you have from the experiences that you already had. Um, and in terms of listing experiences, it should start from your first year of undergrad.
Thank you. Okay, so we are done with the questions that we got in advance, and there is one more from Anastasia that we have in our live chat. Hello, if I have a 1 year gap without work, I traveled that time after my bachelor degree, do I need to create some activity or write something to fill the gap in my resume?
That's a good question. So 1 year gap is not, I would say, isn't too much, but at the same time it's not too short. So I would say that it would be so you don't need to over apologize or over explain yourself in your application letter for that, because it's fine to have gaps in your professional and academic journey. But at the same time, it also depends on the position. It's a question that would be, I think, it would have a different approach from different universities and different admissions committee. For some, it would be acceptable. For some, it may appear they may have a question on what was done during the last like whole year. So to be safe, I would say that you can start some kind of activity related to your professional field, but without putting too much stress on that in your essay. Without you could just focus on key highlights that you already had. Um, and not point out to the gap yourself.
I also think that this period of 1 year that she had, it's also a good period to highlight how good she feel now and how ready she is for this new chapter of her life. So I think she can just get the benefit from this period and just include that in her personal statement, for example. So I just consider it a bonus. It might be a bonus because maybe the person wasn't ready 1 year before, but she's ready now because she traveled, she discovered, some places, some people, so she developed herself. So don't consider, I totally agree with that, right, that you don't need to over apologize on that, because that's what's the mistake of students. But just make it as a good thing, and your Education USA advisor will know how to explain it to you better when you will review that. Okay, another question from Daria in the chat. Hello, I have 1 year master degree but didn't finish. So do I need to mention it in my CV?
In case of graduate studies, I don't think you need to mention it, because with undergrad, it's some kind of experience that is expected to be that you have it if you're applying to masters. But in case of masters, this is the information that only you own. So if you don't mention it, then they wouldn't know it themselves. So instead of mentioning it if it's unfinished, because then if you mention it, and you would have to explain why was it unfinished. So if you don't have serious reasons for why it was unfinished, such as illness or some kind of things, then you could just choose not to mention it at all. Um, so yeah, if you don't have specific and serious reasons to that can fully show like why didn't you finish it, then you can prefer not to add it. If you have these kind of reasons, then you may add to show what kind of courses you had there, if these courses will be helpful while applying for masters.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah. So, okay. I think we finished with all the questions that we also had in the chat. Thank you so much, Aray. And thank you so much for those who have submitted your questions. If you didn't have the time to view all our presentation for today, you can go back. And if you all have additional questions, refer to your Education USA advisors, where you can also find our email address on our website. And you can write us, and we can also offer you more information. I am thanking you, everyone, to allowing this time to spend it with us today. Just wanted to keep you informed that next week on 23rd of October, we have our session on how to fund your graduate studies with Victor, with my colleague from Belarus. So make sure to subscribe for that event. And then we'll have also another webinar for October with 2 students from our regional cohort for graduate students from GSAP. And you will have the opportunity to address questions to those who are benefiting of getting skills on how to prepare their application to stand out for their postgraduate degrees. Thank you once more, Aray. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope everyone also enjoyed it, and they will get to know more of our advisors in the region. And thank you once again, those who followed us today. You have a great, great evening.
Thank you.